Morning, everybody. I'm just smiling at a comment there from William Ford. Sam, you're 1 minute late. It always does make me laugh. I'm guessing people just enjoy. Is there a mistake? Let me point that out. But good morning to everybody. How are we doing? Sam here, United People's TV. It's Tuesday. We've got Newcastle tomorrow. Unfortunately, we have to watch Manchester United play another game of football. There's 2 games left in the league. Newcastle on Wednesday, Brighton on Sunday to end the league. And then on next Saturday, we've got the FA Cup final. We'll speak about that after the end of the season. But this morning, we're going to take a little bit of a look towards transfers. A little bit of a look towards what's going on with... Sorry, unfortunately, the Facebook chat's not popped up in the right place today. Luckily, I've got the backup over here, but for some reason, it's got all the chat. It's a little bit... There's chat popping off everywhere. Don't know why there was a bit of an error with the Facebook show this morning. Can't tell you why. Don't really care anymore. There's no point in me trying to figure out. It just decides what he wants to do. We're going to be speaking about Casemiro to Saudi Arabia. We're going to be speaking about Bruno Fernandes going to Saudi Arabia. Well, I don't think that was going to happen, but I'm going to run through the report from the Telegraph yesterday that Casemiro's representatives already in talks with Saudi Arabian clubs, and we'll speak about that. We'll speak about the fee. We'll have a little conversation around Bruno just to entertain it, but no, I don't really want to entertain it. I don't really want to entertain it, but I'll let you have a conversation here as a community. We'll speak about Rasmus Hojlund, what was said on Monday Night Football yesterday. Lots we can run through. I've got to close that over there because that's way too much stuff popping up on my screens. Apologies to everyone on Facebook. You're going to have to come into YouTube again today. Honestly, if you do watch on Facebook, and I don't mean this in a disrespect to Facebook, come across to YouTube. It's just so much better from a community perspective. The involvement, everything. It's geared towards helping creators make communities. Facebook isn't. And it never will be. All right. Who's here from the Mod Gang? Let's have a quick look. And Vicky, Carl, good morning to all of you. Alex, I see you there as well. Miles, when are we going on our 2-year date? Did we have a 1-year date? I'm not sure we did. Maybe at some point. Actually, no, never. So, Wilhelm, good morning to you. We've got Chris Diet, Stevie Power, Fizz, Imole. We've got Poz, Jonesy, Harry, Sandman, and Barista. Good morning to all of you. I don't even drink coffee. I actually don't really like hot drinks. Sue me. I just don't really like hot drinks. Look, there's a couple of things to run through, as I always do, around football. Actually, this one's Man United. This is happening tonight. First things first, I just want to say, if you get the opportunity to, make sure you tune in to watch the under-18s tonight. They are playing Chelsea at Stamford Bridge in the under-18s national final. So the under-18s have won the Premier League North. Chelsea won the Premier League South. It's one game at Stamford Bridge to decide the national winners. And last time we played in this was against Chelsea under Kieran McKenna. I think it was in 2018, and we lost the game. I don't actually think we've ever won the full national championship. I think we've won North twice. Let's see. I think it's a little bit annoying that... Well, it's not annoying. Obviously, the Spurs game is on tonight against City. A lot of people are watching that. But I think it kicks off, is it 7 p.m? So if you can, go down to Stamford Bridge. Only like a £5. It is. Gungshi, I see you there this morning, dude. I see everybody. I don't see everybody. Big up to you, dude, for gifting 5 memberships, man. Thank you so much.
I can't believe it. Football, bloody hell.
I thought I'd bring the classic out for a while. That's the first one we started on. JK Tech, as you're going to the game, enjoy yourself, man. Send us a photo on Instagram. Hopefully they win. I wonder what team they'll be playing. I wonder if Ethan Wheatley will... I don't think Ethan Wheatley will be involved because... I wonder, actually. That might be quite hard. Well, a little bit harsh, actually, to be fair. First thing's more important, obviously. But you could see Harry and Mass not in the squad because we play Newcastle the next day. You're likely not going to see Ethan Wheatley in the squad because he'll be in the Man United senior squad for the next day. There's a couple more players as well. I only just thought about that. Alex sent a super chat. What are you saying, dude? Saying Jean-Claude Blanc has experience of major transfer negotiations from his PSG days. Can you see him getting transfers started before Barada arrived? Of course, dude. That's exactly why he's been brought in. Dave Brailsford was the interim CEO for the beginning. Patrick Stewart was probably there in only name, really. On the ground, Brailsford was the man. And he's done a lot of stuff from an audit perspective, looking at the operational side of things at Manchester United. But when it comes to the actual football stuff, hand that over to Jean-Claude Blanc. Now you do this for a couple of months. And yeah, Jean-Claude Blanc and Jason Wilcox is a far healthier position. What was it last summer? It was John Murtough and Richard Arnold. That's some upgrade. Now look, let's speak about the game last night. We were all Tom Hanks. Sitting there. I don't really care. I suppose I didn't really care that much about the game, but it was entertaining enough. 3-3, 2 late goals. Duran. I'm guessing the headlines were all of that this morning. Duran. But did you see? I hope we don't get shut down for copyright for this. Gage's Gary Neville after the equaliser went in from Aston Villa. You know how Gary Neville has that? That's why I did that video a while ago. When I said Gary Neville has sort of enabled people to just make him sound like a bang average right back because he plays himself down so much because he's become so non-United, doesn't he? He has to sit on the fence and can't possibly be biased towards anything. Sod that, man. One more time. That cracked me up, man. We might have to download that sound. We might have to get that one on the gong. That sound's definitely going to get reused, isn't it? It really will. JC, man. Hey, good morning to you. Chris, you just joined as a squad member. And JC, you just invited 10 more. I actually changed all these. I can't remember what we've got on the 10 one now.
Also in the first half, they played in the same play style as Queen's Park Raisins.
I forgot about that one. Does anyone remember that? That was when Louis Van Gaal was speaking about when we played Queen Park Rangers, and he just, for some reason, he just called them Queen's Park Raisins. Louis is funny, man. Louis is funny. Anyway, let's move on to something that's happening tonight. And it's this made me laugh as well. Not made me laugh, but you've seen what all Spurs fans are saying. They're happy that Basuma's injured. They want Postecoglou to put out the under-14s. Obviously, because they don't want Arsenal to win the league. But I do not want City to win 4 in a row. Obviously, there's 115 reasons why they've won 4 in a row, which we all know. But even if that's corrected in the future, they still would have done it in real time. And I know there'll be a black mark against it, but it still would have done it in real time. So I just like this from Postecoglou saying, look, it's like, mate, if you want Spurs to lose, you need counselling, which went a little bit far, I suppose. Because I understand rivalry, but I'll never understand anyone wanting their own team to lose. It'll be interesting to see what happens tonight. Truth be told, I think Spurs kind of sack it all off. Chris, you say you sack Facebook off. Well done, man. I apologise to anybody who's... I don't even know if this is working on Facebook. Shall I actually see if this is working live on Facebook? Because everything's connected. Everything should be. But for some reason, when I set the stream up this morning, it just gave me an error when doing the Facebook stream. Let's have a look. Oh, it is live on Facebook. Well, good. What is that? There's that in its sense. But apologies. Hardly anyone's watching. Look, let's move on to the actual news then. All right. And this is definitely the first point of call for the show today. Casemiro. I can't remember. Somebody let me know in the comments, right? I can't remember there being a drop-off of this scale in the space of 12 months as a Manchester United fan. Can anybody remember any other players? I mean, there might be. You might be able to pull out some good examples, but off the top of my head, I can't think of a player who was so integral last season to Manchester United, so important. We used to argue about, not argue, but I told you, like when Casemiro got his yellow card before he went to Arsenal, it was like, well, it was like the end of the world. And whenever he got a red card, we were like a different team with and without Casemiro. And then this season, people are mentioning Di Maria down there. People are mentioning Pogba. Rashford. Kanchelskis, man, your memory's better than me if you can remember 2 seasons like that back to back. Tim Cahill at Everton. Torres moving to Chelsea. Well, this will be recency bias, of course, but Casemiro's drop off this season. Wow, has been pretty bad. And we're now heading towards the transfer season. You can see that the yellow setup is here. And I'm looking forward to what is I wouldn't say guaranteed to be, but it feels like it. It feels like this summer is definitely going to be the summer of movement that we have wanted at this club for a long time. Unless Ineos have just been decisive in getting rid of a CEO and rid of a director of football, and they've asked the whole staff force to work from the office. It would be I would be amazed if they did all of that and then this summer they just go, oh, actually, no, we'll give Casemiro another season. Oh, we'll give Eriksen another season. We'll give Varane a contract extension and keep him at the club for another season. It feels like finally this summer, this club is going to sell players that some fans would probably want to keep. And that is not a position that I think we've been in a while. Some people will want to keep Jadon Sancho. Some people might want to keep Mason Greenwood. I don't really think many fans are going to argue about whether Casemiro should stay, but that's important because selling players that have actual genuine resale value is how you operate sustainably in a football market, right? We have not done that for a long time. I'm going to be speaking about this report from the Telegraph. I'm going to speak about Casemiro first, and then we're going to speak about Bruno Fernandes after, which I think is just a bit of hot air, but we'll have a conversation about it. Showtime to win. You send a super chat, sir. What are you saying? Morning, Sam. We have been Manchester United PLC for too long. I'm hoping we see Manchester United Football Club again. Also, the gong sound, Martial versus Liverpool. Already had that on, and it made us quite sad. We were like, well, Martial's leaving now, so we took Martial off. So we won't be getting that one on anytime soon again. But yeah, it would be nice to see us operating like a football club. But let me read through this, okay? And then we'll see what it's saying. We'll have a conversation in the comments. Saudi pro clubs also understood to be interested in Alisson and Ederson. And this is what it's saying. Saudi pro clubs are pushing to sign Casemiro when the transfer window opens. There is huge interest in his teammate, Bruno Fernandes, although that deal is regarded as far less likely. Yeah, you can say that again. According to sources, up to 10 marquee signings are expected to be made this summer. Remember, last summer, I think the Premier League spent the most money, and then the second league that spent the most was the Saudi League. I don't know whether it will be as high as that this summer, but they were certainly made big signings. And this is the important part here. The Brazilian's representatives are already understood to have held talks with pro league clubs, and United are prepared to sell and would like any deal agreed at the start of the window, but will not push Casemiro out. Of course, they won't push him out, because if you do that, then you reduce your ability to negotiate. But fire it in the comments. How much do you think we genuinely can get for Casemiro? All right. I'm going to save the poll because I want to ask you a question about Bruno Fernandes. Okay. And Gary, I suppose that I've said that before, and I know this is true. All right. Anybody is for sale at the right price. And I think I've said that a fair amount of times, and it's just the case in any business. Oh, this employee is indispensable. Somebody comes along with a huge okay on it. All of a sudden, this employee is dispensable. The same goes for any United player. I don't want Bruno Fernandes to leave, but if Saudi Arabia come and slap 200 million on the table, you're damn right the club would think about it. But I'm going to go down here and read from some of your comments here. You've got Graham and Ant, you're both saying 35 mil. King Fair and Mikapi, you're both saying 40 mil. Craig, you're saying 40 mil max. Jason, 35. 30 plus is okay, says Rob and Charles. Mike, you're all saying 30s. This is the thing here, right? I think the yardstick for how much we can conceivably charge is Fabinho. Now, I know that Fabinho was, I think he was 29 when he went across, did he? Let's have a look. I think he was. So he was 29, right? And he went over for 40 mil. It was a fading Fabinho who had his best days, but they were behind him. And he was on the way down. And Liverpool got 40 mil for Fabinho. Now, this is the thing that I think is really important with this Casemiro transfer, all right? Is it's not your typical transfer, all right? Saudi Arabia might be telling people, oh, we want to make one of the best leagues in the world. They want to become just as big as a... That's not their real intention. Their real intention is that they have the World Cup coming up in 2030 in Saudi Arabia, and they want as many eyes on Saudi Arabia as possible. It's not about building the best league in the world. It's about changing the perception of Saudi Arabia and getting all the eyes on their country ahead of the World Cup, which is why you might consider this a weird thing for me to pull up, but I'm going to. Fabinho there with 2.8 million followers on his Instagram account. Typically, this wouldn't really matter to a football club. It wouldn't be one of the things that they really... I mean, some football clubs might consider that, but it's a bit weird. But this is exactly the sort of thing that Saudi Arabia will be looking at. And they won't be looking at Casemiro going, but he's a fading 32-year-old who can't quite keep up with the pace of transitional football and we're going to have to change our No. They're going to go, how many followers you got on Instagram? Oh, he's got 22 million. He's got nearly 10 times as many followers as Fabinho. Oh, how many Champions Leagues has he won? Oh, lovely. They will have so much value, they will hold so much value in seeing happy photos of Casemiro and his family settled in at Saudi Arabia and that going out on Instagram. That's going to mean more to them than Casemiro being a good footballer. All right? And that's why, in my opinion, if I'm Manchester United, I'm sitting down at that table, I'm using this Fabinho model as the yardstick. And I'm saying we want 40 million for Casemiro. I could make a look. Of course, Casemiro would be a better player in the Saudi League. Of course he would. He'd probably refine his form. The game will be a lot slower. It'll be a lot less intense and far less scrutiny. He'll probably be a little bit happier because Casemiro, at this point in his career, having done it all, won it all, he's really putting himself in the spotlight. Harry's saying even talk about releasing. Did we release Ronaldo for free? I can't remember that. Anyway, Ronaldo was their dream signing. How many followers he got on Instagram? Pretty much the same model as United. Well, let's not talk about Manchester United's recruitment model. Harry's saying marquee signing for advertising, and that's what they're. Of course, yeah. Of course, we cut his contract, and of course, we should have cut his contract. You see, I saw some mad thing. Why? My voice just went there because it really annoys me. I don't know whether it was just Arsenal fans trying to troll, saying this is what Ronaldo spoke out against, and you forced him out the club. And I'm just looking at it, going, "Oh man, yeah, you're just trying to get under my skin, aren't you? You're just trying to." I'm trying not to rise, but you're nearly getting me. It was not the reason why United fans fell out Ronaldo. And do you remember that interview? That interview was wild. Forgot about that. Yeah, and that is the profile of a big signing for Saudi Arabia. It's not about how good that footballer is. It's about how much of an impact can he have on the profile of Saudi Arabia and the profile and visibility of our country and our league ahead of the World Cup. And that's where Casemiro ticks the big box. Casemiro will probably would be the market. Actually, no, I'll tell you who. Salah would be the biggest signing that they could make. And I know that he said, I think David Ornstein said that Salah's going to be staying one more year. But I just kind of feel that Saudi Arabia are going to come in with 150 mil, slap it on the table, and then Liverpool are going to accept it. Akash is saying it's a short-term approach that Saudi League is taking. Well, they're building towards a World Cup. I don't think they're really going to be building sustainably to making a wonderful league that I'll be very interested to see. Say, let's have a conversation here in 6-7 years' time after the World Cup has happened. There, what happens with the Saudi League? Does everybody just sort of go, well, there you go, we've done it now. See you later. I imagine that will probably happen. Casemiro's been unlucky. He's been unlucky to a certain degree, man, but he has been poor. He's been so poor. Lee saying, I know Ronaldo exit left a little bad blood, but his iconic celebration would be a good gong sound. I love him for what he did in his first time at United. And I enjoyed some of the memories that he created in the second time at United, but I won't be getting that as a gong sound. That's my personal opinion. Right. Got to say, I'm gutted it hasn't worked out for Casemiro, says Wayne. Hey, dude, last season. But it's just, Casemiro was the perfect Manchester United signing. Somebody who gives you that big adrenaline rush, the dopamine hit of the first season. Everything's great. Oh, never mind. 1 season later, everything's going Pete Tong. And all of a sudden, the player that you spent 70 million on, you need to sell for as much as possible and you need to replace as quickly as possible. Great squad building, Manchester United. You've absolutely nailed it. No, it's just ridiculous. But as much as we can talk about Casemiro, okay, let's talk about Bruno. Now, I don't think I've hid my opinions on Bruno at any point. I get annoyed more about I think it's just the sheer amount of energy there is. I can understand criticism of Bruno. I really can. I think there is justified criticism, but it's the amount of energy that some United fans have behind that criticism, which I just find really strange. But the Telegraph also reporting here what they're saying down here about Bruno. Oh, that's it. They've only got a little side note. There is also huge interest in the Brazilian's United teammate and captain Bruno Fernandes, although that deal is regarded as far less likely. It is being discussed within the Pro League. So I suppose my question that I want to ask you here with the poll is this, right? Let me see if this works. How much do you think gets United to the negotiation table over Bruno Fernandes? Because, look, I love him. I don't want him to go, but I understand that he is 29. I understand that he's, got to be 30 soon. I understand that maybe this will be the last time we could get a big amount of money for him. And I think there's going to be a million other places we need to look in making money, right? How much do you think for Bruno? Right, let's add 4 options here. I'm going to do quite broad values. I don't think anything less than that. Let's go. Okay, actually, no. Let's just do this. It's still so annoying that YouTube doesn't allow mods to make polls. It's so dumb. Should be able to. Anyway, right. There. I've put 4 options down there, right? I put 50 to 75 mil, 75 to 100 mil, 100 mil to 125 mil, or 125 mil plus. Now, as I said, my personal take is that Bruno's indispensable to this team right now. In its current form, Bruno's absolutely indispensable to this team. And I think he's good enough, and I think he's going to have the longevity enough to stay for another 2 to 3 years. Now, we paid what? Did we pay like 45 mil for Bruno? Man United signed Bruno Fernandes. 47 mil. Look at that. Pub quiz. Not far off. 47 mil. Damn. That was a bargain. So we don't need any sort of resale value of Bruno Fernandes. We got him for 47 million. We've already got way, way, way more than that out of him. And I still think he has a couple of years left. at least. And I think he's good enough and he's committed enough to be a central figure in this team for the next couple of years, and that he should be one of those midfielders that you build your midfield around. I'm telling you, it's Bruno Fernandes, it's Kobbie Mainoo, and it's finding that partner. It's finding the enabler of both of those two players. That's what I think we need this summer. Whether that's a player like Amadou Onana or Mats Vifer. Anyway, bloke from Feyenoord. Or Hojlund from Sporting Lisbon. Or a different profile. João Neves. We can't afford João Neves. Yeah. And it's a very good point there from Ant, and I think that's a really important point overall. You can talk as much as you want about selling Bruno Fernandes. All right then, lads, replace him. How much are you going to be spending on a Bruno replacement? 47 million for a player like Bruno with the output that he has consistently every season, no matter how bad our team is. Boy, you are spending north of 100 mil. Minimum. Guaranteed. To try and replace Bruno, whoever it is, whether it's Wirtz, whether it's somebody else, you're spending more than 100 mil. Koji, you're saying we're wasting my mate's dog called Kojo. It's a good dog. Anyway, not Koji though. We are wasting time talking about this. I personally think we are. I don't think this conversation goes any further than just this little snippet here today, this little 5-10 minute part of this show. But it was written in the Telegraph, so I ran through it. Let me see what you're saying in the poll, right? It's got 500 votes, and 34% of you think that 75 to 100 mil would get United to the negotiation table. 33% of you say 100 to 125 mil. I think I'm in I would go 100 mil plus, man. The output numbers that Bruno I don't care if he's 29. To us, to Manchester United, Bruno is worth 100 mil. And that's important to understand when it comes to player transfers and values, right? It's not just about what you think that player is worth in the market. It's how much do you think that player is worth to that team that you were trying to buy them from. Because if he's really, really important to that team, then he's going to cost more money to take him out of that team. And I think that's what applies to Bruno Fernandes. Akash, you're saying controversial view. I'm on the fence on whether Bruno stays or leaves, but agree that other players leaving should be prioritised. I'd sell for 75. I wouldn't sell for less than 100. Because I think, man, we would. We've already got a lot on this summer, all right? A ton on this summer. We already need, in my opinion, 2 centre-backs, at least 1 central midfielder, probably a left-back, ideally a right winger, and probably a striker. Well, that's 6 players, let alone taking out your captain and the most important player in that midfield, Bruno Fernandes. I think we'd be loopy to sell him this summer. I really, really do. There's just too much on. It's about prioritising. Everybody can talk about, I want to get 19 signings in for United this summer, 17 sales, and everything's perfect. That's just not what happens in reality. All right. See what you're saying down here. If I was alongside Bruno, I'd make his value go up and make him an even better player, says Blessed. Well, that's good to know. Should be playing for United, mate. Doesn't Mount play the same position of Bruno? I think he's the replacement. Mason Mount is not a creative orchestrator like Bruno Fernandes is. He's a very good attacking player, but he's not an orchestrator. He's not the man who sets the tempo. Jason is saying, which midfielder can currently compete with Bruno in terms of work rate in the team? I think Mason Mount would probably have one if he actually could stay fit, but let's be honest. Munson's talking about how Man United played in these last 2 games without Bruno. Yeah. How many chances have we had? How many chances have we created? Hardly any. Anyway, one random thing here before we move on. I want to speak about Rasmus Hojlund, right? I spoke last summer about Marcus Thuram, right? Marcus Thuram. And he went to Inter Milan. Very good free signing for them. They've won the Scudetto. And he's played a central role in it. And it was I found it really confusing that Man United didn't go after Marcus Thuram. And I probably would put the Tosin Adarabioyo in the same category of confusion if we don't go after him. So it looks like Lloyd Kelly is going to be going from Bournemouth to Newcastle on a free transfer, and they also want Tosin as well. this summer is about, and it's kind of what it's, I'll be honest, this is what every summer has been about for Manchester United. Just we've never done it. You need to make signings which improve your starting 11, as well as signings that improve your overall squad. Now, some of those signings might be bargains. Some of those signings might be expensive, and you've got to balance both of those. Setting Lindelof and getting Tosin in improves the athletic floor of Manchester United's defence immediately. I don't think Victor Lindelof's going to get any better. I think we've seen the best of him, and I don't think the best of him is good enough for Manchester United. Therefore, sell Victor Lindelof somewhere between 5 and 10 mil. Gone. Bring Adara Bioyo in. Bioyo? Yeah. Tosin. Just call him Tosin. Damn it. Bring him in. That's an improvement in the squad, and you actually make a profit on top of it as well. That's a smart signing. That's a signing which improves a squad. Does it improve your starting 11? Maybe, maybe not. But it improves your squad. And that's what we need at the same time as improving our starting 11. And that's why I'll be very confused if we don't at least try. Be very confused. Right? That's a smart signing if I would call it that. Mojo, you're sending a super chat here. Casemiro, Sancho, Martial, Varane, Wan-Bissaka, Brandon Williams, Malacia, Ahmad, Pelistri, Eriksen, Van der Beek, all can go, and you're not even including McTominay and Maguire. I was building the list of, I'm going to have to make another transfer whiteboard for players leaving this summer, because I think leaving is going to be equally as busy as signings. So I'm going to have that board. Quite a lot of those could go. Don't think Ahmad goes. Malacia, I'd be very surprised if we could even sell him. He hasn't played football for a year. We'd have to loan him out. Anyway, don't know whether that's going to happen, but we'll find out. Now let's move on to this, right? Because I think this is a really important talking point that I want to discuss anyway. Rasmus Hojlund, right? His season at Manchester United has been like peaks and troughs. In fact, one peak, two troughs. Start of the season, didn't score. I think it was for what? 14 games? Something like that. Had a really tough start as a Manchester United player. Then he hit a rich vein of form. Goals were flying in. 7, 8 games in a row he scored. And then he hasn't scored now for a while. And there's big questions about him. First thing I want to say here is this is just really hope he just gets dusted out from the press conference. He may well have his sources. All right. Samuel Luckhurst coming out with an article yesterday morning saying all Manchester United players are looking towards Hojlund going, nah, not passing to him. Nah, no way. But this is the sort of dressing room leaks, if you want to call it that. Whether, as I said, whether it's coming from a player, an agent, a family friend, a family member, doesn't really matter where it's coming from. Just get rid of him, man. Dust him out of press conferences. And on the same day that was released, we hear this from Gary Neville on Monday Night Football. I think he's got a good mentality and is a good kid. I think he's playing in a struggling team in a difficult environment. He's not the problem at Manchester United. He is somebody to persevere with. I don't think at any point this season, and call it first season syndrome if you want, and you know that's how I operate as a fan. That's just my thought process. I'll never go in too hard on a player in their first season. Yeah, sometimes I'll go in hard, but I won't completely write them off in their first season. And I'm still not particularly worried. I'm a bit worried about Rasmus Hojlund, but when it comes to the movements that he makes, I think the thing that is just starving from Rasmus Hojlund is service and consistency of the players around him. You have a look at this little list from Monday Night Football, and you look at when he was banging the goals in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 goals in 6 games. And in those 6 games, it was Garnacho starting on the right-hand side. It was Rashford starting on the left-hand side. And it was Fernandes in the middle. Now, look, there's 3 games where he did have those around him, and he didn't score away at Liverpool, didn't score against Brentford, or didn't score against Bournemouth. What do you think is the biggest problem with Rasmus Hojlund? That's the question I want to ask you. Sky fisting, there's a fair point there. I do agree with that point, that his hold-up play has deteriorated. Because I thought at the very start with Rasmus Hojlund, when I think his hold-up play started poorly, really improved, and then disappeared. It was poor at the start because he was staying too tight to central defenders who would just like stick a foot round and just knock it away from him. But then he dropped a couple of yards off. And then when he did that, he ended up being a lot better with his hold-up play. And then it's kind of gone back to the other way now, where his first touch is kind of eluding him a little bit. And there's more stuff. I think this one here is quite a startling stat, right? I'll go full screen this one. So you got you got Erling Haaland down there. In 29 games for Man City this season, he's had 115 shots. Dominic Solanke, in 37 games, he's had 107 shots. Ollie Watkins, in 35 games, he's had 103 shots. Rasmus Hojlund, in 28 games, has had 36 shots. Right? Let's just go big on that one. Erling Haaland has had nearly triple the amount of shots that Hojlund has had in one more game. That's mad. You want to know what's even more mad? This stat is crazy. Scott McTominay has had more shots in the Premier League this season than Rasmus Hojlund. More stats. Again, from Monday Night Football last night. Rasmus Hojlund here on the right-hand side. And it's this one down here, right? The expected goals. Now, I know that expected goals and stats like that, they're not the be-all and end-all. But across the course of this season, his expected goals are only 7.4. His shot conversion is the best out of anybody compared to Núñez and Jackson. He's hardly got any XG because he's hardly been getting a chance. And this is the thing, like when you see this sort of tosh coming around, that United players are hesitant to play the ball to him. They don't play it to him. And when they do play it to him, he's got the best conversion out of Núñez and Jackson. I don't know what the actual conversion is compared to Haaland and Watkins, etc. He's got such a small expected goals. Now, it's down there in the comments, people are mentioning it. That tells you what the problem is at Manchester United. And the problem is at Manchester United, and I've been saying this for a while, and there is real value in having wingers who are, I suppose selfish is a word you could use, but wingers who think about themselves, wingers who are so confident in their own ability to just drift past the player and get a shot off that's how they play football. And that's why someone like Michael Olise is a very different footballer to have in your team. Also, by the way, as we saw, very capable of scoring a goal or two. However, he doesn't always just cut inside. He crosses so much more. And accurately as well. Ahmad would probably do the same, but Ahmad drifts inside naturally. We need wingers who play towards a striker. That's what we need in our team. Still Manchester United, we've spent 70 million on a striker who I still absolutely back to be a very, very good player for Manchester United, but we just have wingers that don't go towards them. We have inverted wingers. Wingers who want to get to the edge of the box and take a shot themselves, which does have value. But you've also got to be looking at a man like Hojlund in the middle and actually getting the ball to him. Because as he's shown there, you're not getting the ball to him. And as he's shown here, when you do get the ball to him, his finishing, statistically, is very strong. So get him the ball more. And people are going to be speaking about Rasmus Hojlund and that chance he had early against Arsenal. Oh, he slipped in. He duffed his line. If you only get 1 or 2 shots for your striker a game, it's just the scrutiny on scoring from those 1 or 2 shots is almost unreasonable, because that will be like a 100% conversion rate. He's shown what his chance is. So if you give Rasmus Hojlund 5 shots a game, statistically he's going to get you a goal. And I don't think it's unreasonable to expect that a striker should be provided with 5 goal-scoring opportunities in a game. Do you think that's unreasonable? I don't think that's unreasonable. A top-level team should absolutely be creating 5 goal-scoring opportunities for their striker in a 90-minute game. That feels pretty reasonable to me. It's been a tough year for him, right? And I'm not saying he's a perfect striker in any way, shape, or form. He definitely needs to continue developing. But to try and suggest that he's the problem, I think is massively unfair. Of course he'll improve. Of course he'll develop. But it would help if we actually played towards him. Ted, you're saying Haaland gets around 10 shots a game? I have no idea how many he gets a game. But statistically, if you get Hojlund 5 shots in a game, he's going to score you a goal. So do it. Play towards him. Or we just aren't doing it. Nick, there's a comment down there saying we should insist on playing Garnacho on the right-hand side, Anthony on the left. Both of them would be more natural for them to cross rather than cut inside. I really enjoyed watching Garnacho on the right-hand side. I'll be totally honest. I actually enjoyed him more than on the left-hand side, because he was able to cut from the outside. He actually was able to get shots off on his left foot as well, and his right foot still. Garnacho had so much unpredictability on that right-hand side. He's got a little bit less on the left-hand side. And I think unpredictability is probably the most important asset that a winger can have. Is he going on the outside? Is he going on the inside? Is he going to take 1 touch? Is he going to take 2 touches? Is he going to cross? Is he going to shoot? Don't really know. And if you can get a fullback in that mindset, then you've already won. Justin, you're saying Hojlund needs a mentor. Yeah, like as much as we spoke about Sesko yesterday. Now, I'm not saying that Sesko would be a bad signing. I don't think it would be a bad signing, but is signing another 20-year-old striker going to really help Hojlund develop in the way that we need him to develop? I'd say there's question marks on that. I'm sure they would bounce off each other, youthful exuberance and all that, but in terms of actually really learning the nuances of being a striker and those little subtle differences, I'm not sure he'll be able to learn too much from Benjamin. It'll be more about learning from coaching, learning from Benny McCarthy and whoever else is our attacking coaches. So I do think experience might suit Rasmus Hojlund more. Nah, we're not going to get Ivan Toney, man. I think it'll be a bad signing. I think it'll be a bad signing because it would cost 60 to 75, probably even more than that. I have no idea. Let's call it 60 mil for Ivan Toney. And he would want to start every single week because he thinks he's Billy Big Bollocks. And if he doesn't, he'd get angry and he'd get frustrated. And I don't think it will be a right combination of Ivan Toney and Rasmus Hojlund. Just a personal opinion. Dominic Solanke, man, he's been banging him in. Ollie Watkins has been mentioned as well. I think he'd be too much. But fair play to Aston Villa. Aston Villa this season, what Newcastle was last season. You know how everybody expected Newcastle to fall off and they never did. I think the exact same thing could be said about Villa this season. And they really are on the verge of the Champions League. I think they get 1 more point they need now. Congratulations to them. Couple of super chats. Look at that, man. Pratsos Rex and JC. You gifted 10 memberships, JC. It's twice today. Ledge. And Prato, you gifted 5. Let's go for a 20 gong. I want to play the 21. Can't remember what it is. What is it? We'll find out.
It's Garnacho. He has Ahmad to his left. He finds Ahmad. It's Ahmad Diallo for United. Ahmad Diallo! has won the game! One of the most incredible games of football you are ever likely to see, and the theatre of dreams has erupted!
Big up to Gaz for that. I love that bit of commentary. That's one of those things you'd be proud of. Like you can be like an old man. You can go back about. I remember when I was on the BBC and I was on the radio, and this is a bit of commentary that I did. It's cool. Love that stuff. The stuff that you're really proud of. A couple of super chats. Let me read these out as well. Rasmus could help himself more, but he needs a teacher. Prato, you're saying, remember when Hojlund went to get advice from RVP? RVP is a legend, but it could also be because he has no seniors in the squad to look up to. Not from an attacking perspective. You know, in the same way that Garnacho looks up and he goes, well, there's not really anybody above me who I can lean on. I've got Marcus Rashford, but he's disappeared off the face of the earth. So Garnacho's kind of on his own a little bit. Rasmus Hojlund, same thing. Who am I looking up to? Anthony Martial? Not really going to learn much from him. That was what made the class of 92 so perfect. Not just the fact that they were the best bunch you'll ever get out of an academy at the same time, but they went into a team with Cantona, with Keane, with Bruce, with Pallister. It's not a bad environment to come into. Chris saying there's still issues with his overall play. Yeah, I'm not here suggesting that Rasmus Hojlund at the ripe old age of 21 is fully developed, right? But to try and suggest that he's the problem, I think is mad. And I think it's just a real misdirection of where the focus should be. That's what I would say. Missed any chats down there? I don't think I did. What's the next couple of talking points we've got down here? We need to speak about that. Well, I suppose we can speak about this a little bit. I did my video yesterday on like the quite frankly disgraceful scenes at Old Trafford. Now, look, I know that it was kind of like it was an unbelievable amount of rain. It was like an inch that fell in an hour, which I think is like a month's worth of rain fell in an hour. So it was unprecedented levels of rain. I mean, it doesn't justify what we saw. It doesn't justify the dangerous situations the fans are put into in that stadium. As I said, United are lucky that happened when the game had finished, because if it happened mid-game, the amount of pandemonium there would have been whilst the football was still on would have just like the images would have been really, really damaging. Multiple reports here saying, look, United have considered putting on a new roof. Oh, that's nice of them. I mean, this problem's been going on for years, right? It's not. It's a brand new problem for the Arsenal game. Not at all. It's been there for a long time. But James Ducker in the Telegraph. You've got the Daily Mirror saying that United have put any plans to fix it on hold. Luckhurst as well saying the same thing. United aren't really going to do anything about Old Trafford until, I would guess, that come, I reckon October time. October, November, we're going to be doing a live stream here together after we've got confirmation about what's happening with the stadium. Is Old Trafford going to get redeveloped, or are we going to get a new stadium? I think we'll have an answer around about October time. And until then, Man United are going to go, I'm not doing anything. And they haven't done anything for years, so that can't be too much of a surprise. If I can ask you, ladies and gents, quickly drop a like on the video. We'll move on to the next part of the show in a second, the final part of the show. And this one's going to be about Gareth Southgate and Thomas Frank. I may have just played an advert there. I've gained the ability to do it. And as I said, it's all getting reinvested back into the channel. So if you did, please don't be angry at me. All right. I'm only going to do one per show. But we need to speak about this, man. All right. And it's good that we have the same opinion, Gareth. Right? My interest in you being linked with the Manchester United job is completely irrelevant. In the same way that he says the Manchester United job is completely irrelevant to him. Truth be told, I think Gary Neville said it on the overlap, and I think it's very pertinent. I think it's completely correct. There's no chance of Gareth Southgate this summer, even if he was somebody that Ineos wanted, because he's not going to announce it before the Euros, because it would just rip up any plans that England have. He's not going to announce it during the Euros because, well, there'll be an international tournament. Manchester United aren't going to wait until after the Euros to mid-July to announce a new manager if that's what they're going to do. So I think, I saw tentative links with Pochettino and the United job. I think it might have come from David Ornstein with like a little byline somewhere. I don't think it's anything more than that. All right. Something that happened here this morning was Mark McGrath from the Telegraph saying this, that Thomas Frank is a strong contender for Manchester United if Erik ten Hag is sacked. His work at Brentford has impressed people at Old Trafford, has a relationship with United's co-owners, Ineos. And I don't think I'm too surprised to see Thomas Frank linked, if I'm honest. I think he was a name that quite a lot of people expected. It's not that anybody would say, "Oh, I love Thomas Frank." And I've said this about, honestly, I've said this about everyone. Any manager that you can link with the Manchester United job, none of them are going to be. When we got Erik ten Hag in, we thought we had nailed it. We finally got one of the up-and-coming coaches. He's part of the new generation. Everybody thought it was a great appointment. There is not going to be a standout candidate if Erik ten Hag was to leave. There will be people arguing about Thomas Frank. They already are in the comments. Some are saying no thanks. Some are saying he'd be great. Exactly what it is. And you're going to get Gareth Southgate. You're going to get Roberto De Zerbi. You're going to get Thomas Tuchel. You're going to get Zinedine Zidane for some bizarre reason. I think Ten Hag's a better, if not equal, coach than Thomas Frank is. And that's what Thomas Frank has been at Brentford, by the way. A head coach, right? And that's exactly what Ineos want. And I think it should be what Erik ten Hag wants. Reduce the responsibility on yourself. You get less power, maybe. Less control. You'll have all control of your football team, but you don't want control of Manchester United. It's a behemoth. You've seen what's happened. Now you've got that control. Reduce it. Become a head coach at Manchester United. I found it quite interesting. We'll have a little conversation about this at the end. You know, since Neville sat down with Roy Keane, it's kind of felt like, I don't know. No, sorry, Neville sat down with Roy Keane. Neville sat down with Erik ten Hag. And after that, you've heard, I think Rio's talked about it and said, I think he's going to stay on. I think Rooney's now said it as well. I think Roy Keane has said it as well. I don't know whether their impressions were changed from that interview or whether they know something that we don't. But I think Erik ten Hag is going to be here at the start of next season. I wouldn't put any money on him being here at the end of next season. That would very much depend on how it goes. But I think he's going to be given the opportunity to be Manchester United's head coach under Ineos for the start of next season. Uno saying, why is Zidane out of the picture? Zidane's never been in the picture, dude. Zidane's a name that just gets randomly thrown in. And he's turned down any interest in any club that's ever happened post Real Madrid. Zidane's just sitting there waiting for the France job. I don't think there's any job that's going to bring him into football again. He went back to Real Madrid for a little bit, didn't he? I don't think there's just going to be anything. I don't even know if Zidane... Akash, you're saying that Zidane said he would never manage in England. I don't know about that. But it just seems strange. It always seems strange. Zidane wants to replace Deschamps, and I think he will after... Is Deschamps signed up until the World Cup? Don't know. Can't remember. Anyway, apparently Thomas Frank is a candidate. I kind of think that all these managerial conversations are a little bit mute. I think so anyway. Last couple of minutes of the show. Fire any questions. Anything you think I haven't spoken about, we can speak about here. Go back to the poll. We go back to this conversation here, right? I said, how much do you genuinely think Man United not could get for Bruno, but the price that would make Manchester United go, well, maybe we've got to consider this summer. 38% of you are saying 75 to 100, and 26% of you are saying 100 to 125. My personal opinion is in that 100 to 125. You know what my opinion is. I don't want to sell Bruno. I think it'd be mad for us to do it. but every player would have a price. And that's just something I understand about football. And I don't think anything less than 100 mil would even get United to just sit down and have a conversation. That's what I think so anyway. I don't see how Frank could be given a candidate, says someone down there. Dude, every manager, if Erik ten Hag goes, every manager's got a risk. Every single one. There is not one that would have the universal support that Erik ten Hag had when he came in. That's just the truth, right? Talking about, I think it's a little bit lazy when people start comparing to Arsenal and Arteta and what happened there. And if it happens there, then it must be able to happen here. What they've done there, what Arteta has done year on year is fantastic. It's not necessarily the norm, all right? So just because it works somewhere else doesn't mean it's going to work here. What got you here won't get you there. You can't, that's why, and it's like people try to compare players from different eras. And it's like, well, football's completely different. What's the point in having that conversation? And people just love the arguments around it. You can't have a conversation about Fergie without speaking about whether he's better than Pep. It's like, no, I just want to have a conversation about Fergie. Is that right? Don't know. Frogman saying, come on, you Spurs tonight. Come on, you Spurs indeed. And also, come on, Manchester United under 18s. We'll be here tomorrow, hopefully, as national champions. I hope you enjoyed the show. Make sure you do please drop a like on it if you did enjoy it. I'll be back here tomorrow, as always. Apologies to everyone on Facebook. Honestly, it's not my fault. It's just I never have one problem with YouTube. I have all the problems with Facebook. All right. Big up to all of you. What's apparently down there? There's a little comment. Let me see if this is true before we end the show. Sometimes people do tell me truths in the comments. Sometimes people don't. Let's see if this is true. Oh, well, this really is true. There we go. This is quite a bit of big news. Thank you very much. See, sometimes you're good to me in the comments. Fab has just confirmed it. Raphael Varane will be leaving Manchester United as a free agent at the end of the season. Decision confirmed. And I've been saying this for a while. This absolutely is the right thing for Manchester United to do. And I think it was the right thing for Raphael Varane to do. I don't think... We spoke about this before. Commiserations, Vicky, down there. We'll have a little moment of silence for you. But Varane, Man United were correct to not give him an extension on the contract that was worth north of 300 grand. And also, I didn't expect Manchester United to... No, sorry. I didn't expect Raphael Varane to accept a pay cut that would bring him back in line with other defenders. And also, he's a sick note. But Raphael Varane's gone. Anthony Martial is gone. Right there, crazy to say this, but Man United have just gained £500,000 a week in wages. £500,000 in Varane and Martial leaving. If we're good and we're smart, that's enough wages for 5 very good footballers. 5. Not absolute top level elite, because you're not going to get that for 100 grand a week. But I think Lisandro Martinez is on about 120. Thereabouts. Varane and Martial leaving. Boom. That's immediately opened up our wages. And Casemiro on top of that. And Sancho. Boy, it's starting. I can't wait for this summer. It really feels like this summer more than any summer before is going to be when we actually do truly get rid of some deadwood. Exodus has begun. I'm excited about this. I'm sure you will be too. Now, if you can, just drop a like on the video, everybody. That was good. Yeah, sometimes you are nice in the comments and you do tell me when news is breaking. Not all the time. But look, have a cracking day. I'll be here tomorrow, as always. Much love.